Welcome to day 2 of the Refresh and Renew Summit with Soul Heart Collaboration. I am your hostess, Jamie Allen Bishop, here to introduce our next speaker. Brian Kukan is a former high school math teacher who spent 13 years inspiring students to see the beauty in numbers. His journey eventually led him to beyond the classroom, where he embraced the practice and teaching of Reiki as a way of exploring health and healing energy. Along this path, Brian discovered numerology, a perfect bridge of his lifelong love of numbers and his passion for spirituality. Captivated by how numerology reveals deeper insights for life, he trained to give readings and has been joyfully sharing his work ever since, blending logic and intuition into meaningful guidance for others. Please help me welcome Brian Kukan.
Welcome to this presentation of how you can refresh each year using numerology. My name is Brian Kukan, and it is an honor to share this topic of numerology with you, as it is near and dear to my heart, being both a math teacher and a Reiki teacher. Numerology blends my love of numbers and an approach to life that is just a little outside of the norm. I plan to give you an overview of how you can use numerology to provide focus to your efforts each year, and even each day if you want to go that far with it. I suggest you get out a piece of paper and a pencil, maybe even a calculator, and let's get started. For those of you that are new to numerology, you might be asking yourself this question: what is numerology? Well, if you look it up, you'll find answers like these. From the Cambridge Dictionary, it is defined as the study of numbers in the belief that they have a special importance in people's lives. Merriam-Webster gives more of a spooky definition: the study of the occult significance of numbers. And from Numerology.com, they define it as the study of numbers and their energetic influence on our lives. I think of it this way. Numerology assigns different personalities or energies to each single-digit number, and using different formulas involving your birthday and your name gives you an insight into yourself and your life. My math teacher mind wants to add in this disclaimer that this is not an exact science, and yet my experience over the years can say that this information that numerology provides lines up quite well with our personalities and our life cycles. My focus today is to teach you about the annual cycles that you can find for yourself using numerology, and how you can use that knowledge to give purpose to each year so that you are in alignment with your natural cycle, that the wind is in your sail, and you can flow with the current of your life. Numerology cycles occur in groups of 9, corresponding to the 9 single digits 1 through 9 of our Hindu-Arabic numeral system, or the decimal system. These cycles occur annually, monthly, and even daily, and they can help us focus our efforts to be in alignment with the natural flow of our energy. In order to understand the flow of the 9-year cycle in numerology, I found that the life cycle of a garden is a good analogy to use. Stage 1. Getting started. So you're starting the garden, you're planting the seeds, you're doing the work. This first stage is very active, and there's a lot to do, as it's the beginning of this cycle where you're building this project that will take over all of these 9 cycles from the start all the way to the end. And the second stage, it's sort of letting it simmer a little bit. It's not as much effort when you're planting the seeds and getting everything started. The seeds are planted and you're just tending to it, watering it. It doesn't seem to be a lot happening on the surface, but know that under the surface, things are starting to line themselves up. You need to keep watering it, but not putting a lot of effort into it. In stage 3, life is starting to emerge. You see the seeds starting to sprout, life coming to the surface. There's a little bit of excitement with this energy because it's starting to happen. You're starting to see the fruits of your labor starting to play out. And you might want to talk to others about it and share this excitement that you have. And there's more of a high energy in this stage 3. And once that life is out there, then we move into that stage 4, and it's time to strategize. Put up a watering schedule, maintaining a routine to nurture this garden and make sure that life that has emerged will continue to survive this stage to be able to thrive later. And once it's been going for a while, we're entering stage 5, which it's time to change it up a little bit. So we've had a watering schedule. Do we need to keep it the same, or do we need to make adjustments to it? We need to create some sort of change, but within reason, challenging the routines and schedules that you created in stage 4, but seeing, are they actually working, or can we make adjustments to make it better for what the garden needs? And it's more important that you bring the change rather than the change coming to you. So sometimes the change is brought to you. There's pests starting to come into it, or fungus growing on the plants, and you need to change up what you've been doing because now there's something different that you need to address. And once the changes start to settle down, you're entering into this stage 6, time to harmonize a little bit, settling into it. Things are starting to go well. And there's just a desire to nurture this garden, keep everything thriving. And you just want to take care of it. And you might find the peace and harmony in the gardening itself and doing the work and just taking care of it. It's doing well, and you're just the caregiver of it. And after a while, when things are kind of on autopilot and it's just kind of peaceful and there's no chaos or anything going on, that it allows some free time in the mind, and the mind starts asking questions. Is the garden doing okay? Am I doing what I need to do? Am I doing it right? These different questions. Are the plants, are these the ones that I wanted to grow? What am I going to do next time? Is this what I want to keep doing? And you start asking these questions in this stage 7. And then we get to stage 8. It's time for the harvest. There's a lot of work to do to take care of everything. Harvesting all the plants, the vegetables, the fruits, whatever it is that you're growing. There's no time to sit back and analyze. It's time to get to work. Which could also bring a sense of abundance when all of this food, if you're growing those kinds of gardens, or flowers, and getting this abundant sense because of all of this that is there for you now. But could also bring a little bit of overwhelm because there is a lot to do to take care of things, and there's not much time to rest. So it's time to capitalize on all that 7 stages that have led up to this. If you sell your fruits or anything, and you go to the farmer's market, it's time to capitalize and take it to market and benefit from all of that preparation that you led up to this. And once the harvest is over, it's coming into stage 9, cleanup and preparation. So it's time to clean out the garden and get it ready for next season, doing all the groundwork needed for the next crops to be planted. Maybe you want to think up what those crops will be, looking back at how last season went, look at the crops that did well, maybe some of the crops that didn't make it, reflecting on the successes, and looking for areas of growth. How have you grown? What will you take with you into the next season to make it a successful one? So I'm just letting you know, we're going to get started into this numerology cycle so that we can do our calculations and find out where we are with it. There will be some math, so in case you have any math anxiety or math hang-ups, just let that go. Take a few deep breaths. You'll have your calculator with you, and I'll walk you through it. It's very simple math, but just let you know it's going to happen. if you want to do this, and I suggest that you do, because the benefits far outweigh any kind of worries that you have about math and yourself. It's worth it. So we're going to start here. This is how to calculate where you are in the cycle for this current year, 2025. To calculate your birth year number, use your birthday and the current year. For example, if your birthday is June 6th, you would use 6/6/2025. So I suggest that you write down your birthday in this format now. Take your birthday and the current year, 2025, and add all the single digits together. For our example of June 6, 2025, you add up all these single digits. So you could use the zeros, you could skip the zeros, your choice, but 0 plus 6 plus 0 plus 6 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. And when you add them together, you get 21. More than likely, you're going to get a double-digit number. And in numerology, if you get a 2-digit answer, you just add the 2 digits of that number together. So for June 6, 2025, we end up getting a 3. Our example, that birthday is in their 3 personal years, the 3rd year of their cycle. But what does that really mean? So we need to kind of tie that into the personal year cycle, similar to that life cycle of the garden, and you'll see how it all makes sense. 1, that's the year you get started. You're starting to work on your new goals, ideas, projects, and things like that. For year 2, it's about relationships and collaboration, focusing on partnerships and things like that, where in the garden it was time to let it simmer. So it's not as active, but the focus is on those underlying relationships and collaborations that might be in alignment with what you're working towards on this 9-year cycle. For year 3, it's a very social year. So it's time to socialize, creating art, expressing yourself to the world. This is in the cycle of the garden when the sprouts were starting to come to the surface. You were starting to see life. There was an excitement there. 3 years tend to have that similar excitement too. So you might get more invitations to go out or to socialize. And I encourage you to get out there and talk about what you're doing and what you're working towards. Just don't spread yourself too thin. Don't party too much and get yourself off course. Make sure it is in alignment with what you're doing. When you get to year 4, that's when it's time to buckle down and get to work. That's organization, structure, routine, self-discipline, those types of things. Remember, that's when we wanted to create the watering schedule, the weeding schedule, getting in the routine to make sure that what has started to live in the garden will continue to survive so that it can reach all the way to the harvest. So similar in this, time to make sure once that life started in year 3, put some routines in place so that you can continue to work on it in year 4. And when it gets to year 5, change up those routines a little bit, challenge them a little bit, just to see, is there a way that I can maybe optimize it or work less and still get the same results, but change it up. So 5 is a lot of change, a year of learning, a good year for travel. Just watch out, because sometimes change comes to you, just like the pests or the fungus that showed up in the garden. Sometimes life throws some things your way in a 5 year as well. So just be able to roll with it and move forward. And then in the year 6, things start to calm down a little bit again. So all that changing chaos from year 5 settles, and there's a little bit more focus on the home, staying home, self-care, harmony, peace. That kind of energy is what comes along with the 6th year. So good year to feng shui the home. When it gets to the 7 year, that's the year of reflection, analysis. You're seeking answers. You're going deep into possibly spiritual areas. Meditation could be good for this time of year, but 7 years, it tends to get really loud inside of my head, where there's a lot of questions and seeking answers. So you need to take time and understand that you might be pulling away from others because you need to deal with what questions are coming up for yourself, what you're trying to figure out on your own. So that's the 7-year, very different from the 3-year. 3 years more outgoing, 7-year, I don't want to say isolated, but a little more inward to kind of process what's going on, reflecting over those previous 6 years to see if everything's in alignment where we're going with it. And when it gets to the 8-year, time to capitalize on all that questioning that you had the year before and all the 7 years prior. Focus on success. Sometimes there's a focus on finances, financial abundance, achievement, a drive. This is in the garden, this was the harvest year. So you're taking it out, and it's time to reap the benefits of all those 7 years of work prior. The only caution I have is to manage yourself so that you don't burn out, because there is a little bit more work opportunities. There is a little bit more for you to do, but make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can continue to work on those things. And then when you get to the 9-year, that's completion, endings, cleaning house, preparation for the next cycle, kind of wrapping everything up. Good garage sale year to kind of go through your things, look at how much you've grown over the last 9 years, and perhaps some of these things just aren't in alignment with where you plan to go next. And it's time to clear out that space for new things to come in over the next 9-year cycle. So take a look at what you calculated with your birthday, what year you are in your cycle. Now, wherever you are in your cycle, we're already coming into October. We're coming into the last quarter of the year. So how much can you use for this last quarter? You could benefit for because it might come into alignment more now that you're aware of it. But perhaps we want to look towards the next year and continuing on in this cycle so that you can then take this knowledge and benefit from it in perpetuity. So the good thing is, once you calculate the year that you're in now, calculating the rest is as easy as counting to figure out the next year and the next year after that. So I'm going to show you how that goes. So if we look back at our example of someone with a birthday of June 6th, 2025 was their 3 personal year. So just to show you the math here, for 2026, it will be a 4 personal year. So if you do the process that we said, take your birthday with the current year. So we're projecting to next year using 2026. We get the 22, you add the 2 plus 2, and you get a 4. So 2025 was a 3 year. 2026 would be a 4 year for this person. And then the pattern just continues. So if you see the pattern, it's 3 and then 4, and then you just keep going, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 9. Once you get to 9, then the next year is going to be a 1, and it starts all over again. So just to show you this, you can see we can put up 2025 was a 3 year, 2026 a 4 year, 2027 5 year, continuing all the way up to 9. So 2031 would be the 9 year. If we count, of course, we would get a 10, but we're going to simplify that down back to a 1. And then the process continues from there. Now, I love this quote. People often overestimate what will happen in the next 2 years and underestimate what will happen in 10. So if we're looking at numerology, having the 9-year cycle, we can really accomplish a lot in a decade or a 9-year cycle. So perhaps we can utilize that more than just annual New Year's resolutions, which I don't know about you, but often they don't really last the whole year. It might last for a month or two and we kind of fall off the wagon. But if we're playing a longer game, a bigger game, then each year has its purpose. And so we can focus, maybe we just want to do our New Year resolutions in alignment with that year's cycle and theme. And then that might stick a little bit more. So you can try and experiment with this, but really go for the long journey of that 9-year cycle, and you can really, really accomplish a lot. And so moving from the yearly, the annual cycle, you can break it down into the monthly cycles, and it goes the same way. But you have to calculate the year first. Then you take the year and add it to whatever calendar month it is. So looking at our example of the personal year 4 for January 20 or for 2026, then January would be a 5 because the year is a 4, January is a 1. It's the first month of the year, so 4 plus 1 would then be 5. And so you can map out the whole year and look, maybe you like monthly projects. So this would give you an idea of when to work on certain projects based on the theme and the energy attached to that month for that particular year. So January for this person would be a 5, February would be a 6, and it goes on. March 7, April 9, April 8 and May 9, and then June starts over with a 1 and continues through the rest of the year. I don't use the months as much in case I do have like a monthly project that I want to work on, but I break it down into the day. But you have to go through the month to get to the day. So the personal day, you're going to add your personal month to the calendar day. So you calculate the year the way we did, then you add the year to the calendar month, that gives you your personal month, and then you take your personal month and add it to the calendar day. So our example had a personal month of 5 for January. So the first day of the month, 5 plus 1 would be 6. So if you look at the calendar for January 26, the first day would be 6, the second day would be 7, third day would be 8, fourth day would be 9, and then the cycle starts. And you can get a few of these 9-day cycles in each month. So it just gives you an idea of the theme of each day in case you're working on something that you can work again in that natural flow of where your personal energy is coming from and going towards. Now, you can add to this theme connecting these numbers to colors, and if you work with crystals or stones or anything like that, you can use them for the whole year or each month or each day and stay in alignment with it. So the color 1 associated with, or the number 1 associated with the color red, and you could use a red jasper or a ruby, which is in that color realm, which will help connect you to that natural energy that you have for that day. Same with 2, orange, carnelian, and so on through this chart. And so the way that I personally use it, if I'm going to use crystals or anything, then I'll carry around that crystal either in a piece of jewelry or in my pocket just to have it with me. But more than likely, I just pick my outfits based on the color of the day. So if I do my numerology each morning, which is easy because it's just the one after yesterday, so there's not a lot of thinking to do there, but it takes one decision out of my day. I just have to figure out, what am I going to wear? This color. That's it. Done. End of story. That way I'm in alignment with my natural energy, and it brings a little bit more color into your outfits as well in your wardrobe. And I've noticed it, and I've noticed a few other clients and friends that have implemented this. You start to get more compliments on the things that you're wearing, even though there might not be flashy or out of the norm or anything, but there's something about this energy of when you're in alignment with the color of that day that people notice for some reason. I don't know, not an exact science, but experiment and see how it works for you. And so I know that was a lot thrown at you, but this is how to use your numerology and the cycles, even if it's just on an annual basis, or if you want to break down to the daily basis, and gets you to live more intentionally each year or each day and in alignment with your life's natural energy flow. And that way, you are using that universal energy flowing for you, putting the wind in your sail, flowing with the current, so you're not fighting the current. Things might happen a little bit easier for you when you are in alignment with your own natural energy. So I thank you and I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to learn how to refresh each year with numerology. And if you want to get in touch, or if you have any questions, or you want to follow up on this, please feel free to contact me through my website, lareikiguy.com. I'll be happy to answer them or get back to you after you message me. But until next time, be well and be kind, and thank you again for your time. Take care.